Nice.
Okay. And run it back from the top. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Salute to Knicks Nation on this Saturday evening. A new edition of KFTV's Court Vision. We are back after a few years hiatus. On this show, we are going to break down the latest trends involving the New York Knicks from a film perspective. And joining me on today's show, he is a new member to the Knicks content creator community. I'll let my guy, man, Bailey Lau, joins us in the building, man. On today's show, with the Knicks headed to Beantown for a matinee showdown with the Boston Celtics, we're going to talk about how this team avoids destruction at the hands of the champs, some of the defensive and offensive adjustments to look out for in tomorrow's game. Hey, man, it hasn't looked great for the Knicks as they've been getting blown out by the NBA's elite, but we're going to talk about some things that they might be able to do to slow down the pain and, hey, maybe even pull off an upset. So lock in, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get it going, man. All right, man. Bailey, how you feeling, man? After last
I'm good.
After last night's debacle, how we doing, man?
I mean, it was a tough one, and then a back next game with the Celtics as well. It's not looking pretty, but hopefully we can kind of get down into the nitty gritty, see what we can do to kind of make it a little better. And see if there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I hear you, man. You know, obviously, it's tough to say, well, we need Mitch, but you know, the reality is that this team missing Mitchell Robinson, especially on the defensive end, it matters, and it's hurt this team with putting Karl Anthony Towns out there at the 5. But hey, you got to deal with what you have, the cards that you are dealt, and the horses that you have out there. So, and let's start on the defensive side, especially with Karl Anthony Towns, because he's in the crosshairs of all these teams from the opening tip-off. So let's roll the tape and talk about how the Knicks might be able to make some defensive adjustments, even with Karl Anthony Towns at the 5 against the Celtics.
Yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing I just want to talk about is some of what went right in the second game against the Celtics. So the first thing I want to just bring attention to is here you're going to see Brunson matched up with Tatum. And this is actually different from the first opening night game against the Celtics, where the Knicks didn't want this matchup to happen, right? We wanted to hide Brunson. We wanted to protect Brunson. In the second game, the Knicks decided to live with it a little bit more. And here you're going to see McBride, you're going to see McHale. They're not over-helping. They're kind of staying home, and then you see that Cat's in the help, and then just a tough layup here. But generally, the Knicks in this game decided to just live with the mismatch, right? And I think this is important because against a really good team like the Celtics, they're going to get their advantages, and you basically want to try to dictate what advantage you're giving them. So here you're going to see the same thing. Pritchard's coming to set the screen. In the first game, the scheme that the Knicks were doing was a hard hedge Brunson. And the problem with that is you're asking for perfect communication between Brunson and McHale, right? So like if McHale can't get over the screen, then they're going to switch. If McHale can get over the screen, then Brunson's supposed to go back to Pritchard. What that does is it leaves some space for just miscommunication to happen. Once miscommunication happens, the Celtics are very, very good at just taking advantage of that. In this game instead, you just live with the switch. So you see McHale doesn't really fight over this. You're going to see Brunson just switch on to Tatum, and they're just going to let this play run, right? So I just want to start here because it's going to be important when we're discussing kind of later down the line what the Knicks can do. So as the game went on, the Celtics started picking on Brunson again, as they've been doing. And then they're going to drag Cat into this play as well, right? So now Cat's coming in the pick and roll. They're having Cornet set the screen. And here I just want to call out one thing that the Celtics are really, really strong at doing. They have Cornet set the screen kind of flat. So what that means is they're not really telling you which side they're going to set the screen on.
It's good disguise.
Which makes it hard. Right. So it makes it hard for Cat to know, like, oh, should I start going left? Should I start going right? And it's just a little tough. Still, Cat has to be a little closer to this. he's just a little too far out, even if he wants to play this as drop. Because what ends up happening, you're going to see when Tatum sees this happen, Cat's going to actually cross his feet to try to contest this. And once his feet are crossed, Tatum can cross over. And then for Cat to get back into this play, he's going to have to flip his hips, which he's not quick enough here to do that, which means that the Celtics can get this exact scenario. If they can get it, they know they're going to score with Tatum, right? So you really want to prevent the scenario from happening. So one of the things I want to point out is there was a stretch during, I forgot exactly when, but it was like the Nets, the Bulls, and the Suns, where the Knicks would just send this trap, right? So it was like Cam Thomas, Levine, and Booker, just to get the ball out of their hands, right? And I think they can do that a little bit more against the Celtics, also just giving different looks, right? But in order to do something like this, you have to stay attached to the screener. So this is just a mental error. So you see Cat kind of ball watching, right? And then Cornette's going to sprint up to set the screen. When Cornette comes up to set the screen, it doesn't really matter what coverage you're in, right? Whether you're in drop, whether you're at the level, if you want to blitz, it doesn't really matter because Cat's not in this play. This is essentially a free 2-on-1. So Cornette gets to set the screen, Hart's the only defender, and Tatum is wide open playing against no one until Cat actually gets into the play, right? So this is the first thing that can happen is you have to stay attached to the screen. Even if you want to play in drop, you have to be in a better defensive stance where you're close to the play. Instead, Cat's not even in the play yet, and Tatum already can make a move, right? So there's that in and out where he hits the vicious dunk on Precious. But the first line of defense when Cat's in these pick and roll situations is you really want Cat to be attached to the screener, even if you're playing in drop. But you also just want to have different looks, like blitzing or playing at the level, right? And I just want to show an example in this Rockets game from earlier, because this is a really good possession that Cat like stays attached the entire time. He's also fighting hard, right? You're making the screen tough. You're not letting Brooks just set up easily. And then also he's in drop in this possession, but he's in a defensive stance where he can play way better and contain it versus he's running up and still trying to be in the play, right? So Cat does a better job of this as the game progresses. Here's Kada. You see Cat stays attached, right? So the Celtics then adjust, and this is a really good play where they're using Derek White to set a ram screen. And the reason they're doing this is they want that exact situation where it's a high pick and roll.
Wait,
but then Cat's
break down the ram screen for the people at home that aren't familiar. What does a ram screen mean?
Yeah, so this ram screen is just this down screen that you're going to see Derek White set. And a lot of times it's used to get the defender off of the person who's going to set the screen, right? So you see Kada coming up, trying to set the screen. They want Cat trailing, again, from what we just talked about, because if Cat's trailing the play, you get a free 2-on-1 with Jason Tatum, right? So they're using this ram screen to try to get Cat off of Kada, which you're going to see works very, very well. So here's Derek White setting it. That's the ram screen. Cat completely detached now, right? Kada, same exact thing that Cornette does. He's flat. He doesn't tell you where the screen's getting set. And then once he sets the screen, you're going to see it again. Cat's completely not in the play, so he's still trying to get to the play. Tatum sees this, easy cross. Cat has to flip his hips again, and it's the same exact scenario, right? Mm-hmm. So this is actually really difficult to stop when Cat's not part of the play, and he's trying to come up to be part of the play.
Just to stop you there, if you rewind to where that ram screen is set and Cat gets blown up, how should Brunson be playing this in this situation where Cat gets blown up out of the play? Should he be following Tatum, or is he on the correct assignment by staying with Derek White?
Yeah, so I actually think they should switch this. And the reason I think they should switch this, it goes back to kind of the first thing we talked about, which is that the Knicks are comfortable living with the Brunson on Tatum matchup, right? So this is kind of what it looks like. It's not exactly the same situation. But the context of this play is Cat picked up his fourth foul. So Cat's matchup was Dylan Brooks, and then OG was on Sengun. Right before this clip rolls, Sengun was the one that set the screen, but Fred VanVleet didn't want Sengun to set the screen. He wanted to drag Cat into the action, much like the Celtics want to drag Cat into the action, right? This isn't a ram screen, but conceptually it's similar. So you can see Cat actually tell OG, like, let's just switch it.
Yeah.
You go take the screen. I don't need to take the screen. This situation is way easier for the Knicks to digest just because you're getting back to the original matchup with Cat on Sengun. But I think in the Celtics situation, even with the mismatch of Derek White and Cat and Brunson and Keita, I think you just live with it. And the reason you live with it is exactly what we talked about earlier. So let me just skip to that play. So here's the RAM screen again. There's a different RAM screen, right? So they ran this a couple times. When you have this RAM screen, you can switch Cat and Brunson here. And it's not like perfectly ideal, right? But if Brunson guards Keita, Keita's going to come up and set the screen on Mikal. Then you can switch again between Brunson and Mikal. And at the end of all of that, right? At the end of everything the Celtics are trying to do, you're left with the Tatum on Brunson matchup. Now, that's not like a great matchup for the Knicks, right? But what that does is you basically negated their plan one. Their plan one is to get Cat trailing, get this high pick and roll, and Tatum can attack it. That no longer works then, right? So now you can get Cat onto Derek White. You can have Brunson be the one in the action, and you're now at a Tatum Brunson icing. You ran some time off, and then it's just you're trying to play to their plan B. Again, the Celtics team is really, really good, so you just want to make them a little bit more uncomfortable. This is the same thing. I just want to show this one too with Keita setting the screen on the other side. You're actually going to see him come up on Mikal's right side. So because he comes up on Mikal's right side, Cat pre-positions himself on the right side, and Keita flips it to the left side at the last second. But look at Cat, right? Cat's on the right side of Mikal because he thinks that's where the screen is getting set. And it's just really difficult when you're already out of position. So that's why it's important to stay attached. If you have Brunson there, it's easier to just switch it and stay attached like that. But again, it's not like it's perfect. It's not like it's never going to be perfect, right? But these are just some of the things you can do to take their first plan of attack out of the equation. So now they're running through the second or the third action.
Yeah, and great breakdown there from a defensive standpoint. Salute to everybody in the chat once again. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. You ain't getting this nowhere else, man. This is KFTV Court Vision. We are digging into the film. Excellent graphics, excellent attention to detail by my guy Bailey Lau. Shout out to the production team. Shout out to Farzad. Shout out to Gamba for putting all this together, man. This is the value that we try to bring to the fan base. But as you illustrated here from a defensive standpoint, sure, Cat certainly has his weaknesses, but some of those breakdowns can be prevented if his positioning is a little bit better, if his attention and awareness is a bit sharper, as you said, staying with the defenders, because so many of those plays you see where his positioning's now, in fairness to him, that Celtics game, I mean, he was moving like he was in molasses to begin with. So I don't know if that was the patella tendinopathy that was bothering him, but he looked extra slow in that game. And as you saw it, when Tatum's taking advantage of him, I mean, he's almost moving like in the cartoons when the guys are slipping on water. Just completely out of position, can't get his hips turned in the right way, and the elite offensive player is just destroying that altogether. And then another thing that you pointed out is if he's playing a little bit more on the level, there are things that he can do to take advantage, such as setting those traps and disrupting rhythm, because that's been a big thing with the Knicks, man. When they're playing these teams like Cleveland and the Celtics, these offenses are just able to walk into whatever they want, and the Knicks are not just disrupting timing, disrupting rhythm, getting the ball out of the ball handler's hands. That's got to change. And so I do like that switching up, getting on the level, especially when Tatum has the ball, because if you're going to stay in drops, the Celtics are going to kill you. They're like number 5 in the league in terms of pull-ups. They're shooting, in terms of pull-up threes, they are they're shooting 36%. Overall, 48% effective field goal percentage in the pull-ups. And so they've got to do a bit more in terms of disrupting their flow, because if they just continue with the drop coverage, they're going to get picked apart.
Yeah, I like how you put it. You're letting the other team dictate what they want to do, and you really have to try to disrupt what they're trying to do. So it's never going to be perfect, right? Like, this isn't an elite defense, but you can do things to make them not be comfortable running the same stuff that they're running to get to where they are.
Yeah, there you go, man. All right, so let's take a look at the offensive side of things because that's also been an area where this team is kind of faltering, especially with their three-point attack, man. Their three-point attempts and percentage has gone way down, and when you're playing these elite teams, you have to be able to match up with the firepower. So let's go into some of the offense and some tweaks that they can potentially make to stay in this game.
Yeah, so in general, the offense has been very good, right? Second in net rating, just overall a pretty good offense. But there are sometimes we struggle, right? And a lot of these struggles sometimes happen when you have a wing or a smaller defender on Cat. Like you're gonna see here with Jaylen Brown. In the first Celtics game, it was Drew Holiday. OKC does it with J-Dub. But the reason this is difficult is one of the plays that Cat runs really well is that pick and roll with Brunson. And you're kind of just not able to do that, right? Because you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they're just going to switch. The other thing that Cat really likes is playing at the top of the key here in this kind of like delay set. So the reason this is really strong is he can do a lot of things and be really dangerous here, right? He can shoot this, he can drive this, especially when there's a center on him. And then they also like to run off-ball stuff between McHale and Brunson, and they can slip it. This actually happened twice in this specific Celtics game where McHale had a great backdoor cut. But the problem with this lineup specifically is when you have Hart and when you have Precious on the court, you have two non-shooters where they get to pack the paint, like you can see with Horford and Kornet. Right, so on those two backdoor cut by McHale, they actually were able to stop it because Kornet was already there. So the next thing I want to talk about is when Cat likes to shoot this, it's easy for Jaylen Brown actually to be really aggressive, right? Because, and you can see he actually jumps on this pump fake. But there's no risk to him jumping. There's no risk to him being really aggressive because he knows he has help behind him. Right? He knows Kornet's there. He knows Horford's there. Mm-hmm. So here you're going to see this play out exactly like that. He jumps on this pump fake by Cat. Cat tries to drive it, which Cat is really good at doing in almost every other situation. And then they collapse. All three of them collapse. Right? Precious gets the ball, and the Celtics will live with this all day.
Yeah.
Yep. And when the second half started, right, this is when Tibbs made the lineup change to Deuce instead of Precious. And I'm really curious if they start Sunday's game with this lineup instead, because you saw them start the second half with this, and it was way better than the first half. But it also helps open up this floor for Cat, right? So this is semi-transition, but conceptually very similar, right? Horford can no longer also be in the paint. It's only Kornet that's able to help because Deuce is dragging Horford out of the paint, which just allows a lot of space for Cat to just drive or shoot because the defender that's on him can't be playing that aggressive anymore. Right? So it really kind of just opens up the floor for everyone, Cat specifically. Here's a play where it opens it up for Hart instead of Cat. But you can see the same thing, right? The paint's so much more open than that first clip. And then because the paint's so much more open, because Horford's not in the paint, Hart gets to slip, he gets the ball. Hart's a great cutter, right? Great cutter, finds his space. There is space, so he's able to just finish this layup. And that's all partly due to Deuce being on the court instead of Precious, right? So here, that's like the first piece of unlocking Cat, because realistically, Cat hasn't had great games against like the Celtics or against OKC when he's seen this matchup. And this is another reason that's been happening. The Knicks like to go to this post up as an advantage creation when there's a smaller wing or guard on Cat, right? And then the problem that happens when they go to this post up is the advantage that the Knicks are playing like is that Cat's going to be able to score on this post up. But actually, with the Celtics specifically, that's not really true because the Celtics are always going to send a double. So if the Celtics always send a double on this post up, you actually know that the advantage that you're creating is for the other four players, right? The other four players are going to be able to play 4v3, whereas Cat's going to be playing 1v2 basically. But if you watch this play develop, it's the other four players aren't going to move because they think that Cat's going to score. Realistically, Brunson should be looking at Kata and at Horford to figure out where the double is coming from. If the double comes from Horford, Brunson can cut. But in this case, he sees that it comes from Kata. He needs to shift up because he knows that Horford is not going to triple team. If Horford triple teams this play, then that's almost a free look for Brunson, right? But even if Horford doesn't triple team, you shift everyone up because you need McHale to have space. McHale is the player where this play really should be built for, because the double's coming from Kata. When Kata goes sends a double, if everyone shifts up, then McHale has a ton more space to operate, right? As is, he's in the corner. It's really hard to see this pass from Cat, and then you're just going to get a tough little hook shot from Cat. Not that Cat can't do this, right? Cat's an incredible post player.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you know that the advantage is not going to come from Cat. And you can see it here, right? Same exact thing. Cornet sends this double. Look at the spacing. It's just so much better because McBride is closer to Cat. It drags Tatum higher to campaign. And then now you have Kata guarding 2 players, right? And this is what you really want it to look like. Whereas in the last clip, you're seeing the 3 Celtics guard 4 players pretty easy, right? So here, way better spacing. The double comes. Cat sees the double come. Precious cuts into space. Once Precious comes into space, Hart cuts right behind him. And then once Hart cuts, Precious finds him there. The Celtics now are kind of in a scramble defense, which allows for McBride to drift down into this corner. And this is an open three, right? This is what like the post-up should look like, because specifically for the Celtics, they double every time Cat posts up against like Jaylen Brown against Jason Tatum. So that's kind of where I'm at with like how to utilize Cat the best. I have one more thing to get to, but I'm gonna take a pause there.
Yeah.
Also, just to catch my breath. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff by you, because especially if you're gonna run those Precious lineups out there, you're just, as you mentioned, creating advantages is what this team has to be about. Whether it's the isolation between Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, a pick and roll between those guys, but sometimes those options are just not going to be there when you're playing with the elite teams. And so if you're going to have Precious out there, you still have to make these teams pay. And we saw it especially last night against Cleveland, where, they're funneling everything to go in Precious's direction, or, they're looking for Towns, but you have guys like Jared Allen just shadowing in the paint and shadowing that double and just not even worrying about what Precious Achiuwa is doing out there. So as you illustrated, it behooves the Knicks, especially if they're going to go to Towns in the post, which I think they need to do a lot more. I do like the top of the key stuff. Sometimes when he's trying to attack off the top of the key, especially against those bigger teams, and it's no ball movement or any rhythm, sometimes it doesn't end well. But if they're going to go to him in a post, as you said, the Knicks are going to have to either cut or make sure that they're creating those good passing lanes to get the wide open shooter on the weak side. So I think that's a team scheme. And then also, hey, if Towns is in there in the post, knock down that jump hook. We're going to need that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if they're not going to send the double, then you want to punish them for sending the double so that they stop sending the double. Once they stop sending the double, then yeah, Towns go to work, right? And that's just an easy post up for Towns.
Yeah, and then
so
yeah,
the last. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, I was also saying, like, with the McBride addition, I mean, the way the defense has pretty much collapsed, the entire year, you might as well, when you're going up against firepower like this, I mentioned the 3-point attempts and 3-point percentage has taken a dip since the start of the year. You might as well just try to fight fire with fire and optimize your offense out there. Just having Precious, look, I like Precious for the role that he serves, versatile player, can give you some offense, but I think they need McBride out there. You've got to be able to maximize your offense. OG's just now getting back into the swing of things. You don't know if you're going to have Hart. You got to put McBride out there, man.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the last thing I just want to touch on is when you have these like 2 non-shooter lineups. So here you're going to see Precious, you're going to see Haporti. I think the Knicks should go to this a little bit more because you have the Celtics preloaded help again, right? You see Tatum. You see Tillman, they're already in the paint. You have Kata on McHale, which is a mismatch. McHale has a center on him. The thing with McHale, though, right, is he likes the mid-range as his spots. So even if the Celtics have this preloaded help, if McHale can beat Kata, which he definitely can, he can get to a spot in the mid-range, and even having those preloaded help, it doesn't really affect his shot from the mid-range where he likes to get to. You're going to see right here, he gets a little space, he creates a space here. So even though Tillman and Tatum are guarding Haporti and Precious in the paint, doesn't really matter. McHale's able to get a shot off. So he actually misses this one, but I'm going to show you an example from the Spurs game, the Christmas Day, where he went off. It's going to be a similar concept. You're going to see Chris Paul, Sohan, and Wemby preloaded help. but it just doesn't really matter, right? Because his spot's going to be this mid-range, and he's able to get that off. So just one thing that I would like to see, also just in general, I really just want to see more creation out of anyone that's not Brunson.
Yes.
I would love to see Mikal get the ball more, just on-ball stuff, pick and roll, Hart when he's back. But I think that would be a huge help as well.
Yeah, no question about it, man. You know, Mikal Bridges has certainly been in the crosshairs of Knicks fans after last night's loss to the Cavs or against these elite teams because you need as much shot creation as you can. This is what these elite teams have. You look at the Celtics 5. You look at the Cavs, damn near entire team can shot create and create for others. Mikal Bridges has to be that guy. And he's got to be aggressive, but also you want to see more actions that Tibbs devises to get Mikal Bridges those mid-range opportunities. We know he's not going to be attacking the basket that much. So if they can create those advantages with Mikal in ISO situations, let him go to his strengths, play to his strengths, it's going to bode well for the offense for sure, man.
Yeah, definitely. And even some actions to get him some looks from 3 instead of just having it be a driving kick for him to get a 3.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, listen, man, great breakdown. Let's see what happens tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And for you guys at home, man, if there's any, type of trends or anything that you want to see us break down with Bailey, we're going to keep running these shows. We're going to keep breaking down the film for you guys. So leave us a comment in the comment section. We put Bailey's Twitter handle in the on the show. Send him send him a DM. Let us know, man. This is the People's Show, so whatever you guys want to see from a film breakdown standpoint, we're going to deliver for you guys on Court Vision. And there you have it, man. Enjoy the Saturday, and let's get a W tomorrow, man. Let's shock the world, man. You know what I'm saying? Bailey, great job, man. We'll catch up, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Excellent job, man. Remember that these shows are available in audio podcast format. No reason to miss it. For tomorrow, we'll see you guys for Play-by-Play Live, followed by Postgame Live. Number one show for the fans, by the fans. KFTV Court Vision. We out of here, man. Peace.